Lead together, embrace change, enhance everyone's journey. The 3 core principles of SmartStop, a leader in self-storage real estate across North America, reinforce why we're proud to bring you SheEO Lead-In, the podcast featuring curated conversations with powerful women sharing their impactful wisdom. It's a self-knowledge, self-discovery, and self-preneurship audio storage vault created by and for women. SmartStop's presentation of SheEO Lead-In begins right now.
Have you ever felt that you as a woman may not appear to measure up when you see incredible women in strong roles? You may be surprised when hearing from women in these positions and how we all share many of the same challenges. Thank you for joining us for the SheEO Leading-In podcast with Rebecca Jones as we share the journeys of women.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Jones, your host of SheEO Lead-In. We are on an exploration together to discover more about the personal journeys of incredible women in both career and life. We all have paths to share that sometimes take incredible turns, deep resilience, and courage to navigate. My hopes are that the challenges shared here encourage women to take leaps of faith and growth when a journey feels too difficult or unachievable. There is great strength deep within each one of us. These stories are meant to share the ways strong women have taken their dreams to strive and thrive to new heights, despite their sometimes rocky paths, and found a way to lead in. Today we're here with Ashley Camac from 0800. How are you today, Ashley?
I'm so good, ma'am. How are you?
I'm great. I'm really excited to find out what you do because you do other things than just 0800. Tell me about that.
Well, I currently have the very fancy title of CEO at 0800, which is a local nonprofit in San Diego, doing a lot of social work, suicide prevention for transitioning service members who are going to remain in Southern California post-military life. So that's my 30-second pitch on that.
Love it.
However, I have other titles. I'm an adjunct professor at National University, so I spend a lot of time with students in our letters and science department. I am a mom, a wife, a group exercise instructor, as well as a board member to many nonprofits to include Fleet Week San Diego and 365 Connect.
Wow,
Yeah.
you do a lot.
Yeah.
How do you balance it all?
You know, I think every single thing I get involved in, I just enjoy it. Even through some of the organized chaos that ensues, I still feel connected to what I'm doing. So I really just try to find balance to make sure I'm helpful and not harmful to take on so much. But, you know, I always like to say like my Y classes are more because I work at the YMCA in San Diego. They're all about like just soul fulfilling. I love being there. I enjoy the members and it takes me out of the 0800 work. And that kind of goes back and forth in all the things I do. So.
Well, when you love something and you feel connected to it, it doesn't honestly feel like a chore or work.
Yeah.
So I love that. You know, I'd like to find out a little bit about you as a child. Do you have a fun story that maybe you could share with us?
A fun story.
A fun story.
You know, I think I grew up in the city of Philadelphia. I think fun fact as an adult is I didn't realize how ingrained in poverty we were until I was out. So I think fun stories is like knowing how to like pop the fire hydrant and enjoy, you know, that in the summertime, which is very unique. Like you don't do that here in California. I think they'd be pretty upset with us if we did that.
You pop the fire. Okay,
You pop the fire hydrant and you have water and the kids play in it until the fire department says, okay, you've had enough fun. And
the sprinklers. I love it. That's what I thought you meant.
I think the block parties and just the uniqueness of East Coast life, inner city life, I sometimes miss what that feels like being out here in California. But I think fun things about my childhood and who I was as a kid is an inner city kid who knows how to be strong and tough, but knows how to have fun in really fun, unique ways. So that's what reminds me of childhood.
Is that the adult that you now are?
No.
I
am a type A. I have to have everything organized. I would be like, oh my gosh, you know, there's rules. We cannot pop fire hydrants. We're going to get in trouble. We're probably going to get fined. Let's go to redirect and do something different, kids. Like, I certainly am not that free-spirited child that grew up in the inner city of Philadelphia. But I think growing up in the inner city it has made me who I am. And then the challenges in between have really molded me to be who I am. And I appreciate that experience.
Well, I was going to ask you one word that describes you best. I'm thinking that you had a different word when you were younger and then now as an adult.
That I think of myself or that
Yes.
others think
No,
of me?
what you think of yourself. I feel like you're going to own anything that you believe about yourself.
Yeah. I think if I was just to talk wildly about myself, I think I am dedicated to what I do. I'm passionate about what I get involved in. And I'm pretty direct so that we can get stuff done.
Yeah.
That's what I would say about myself.
Yeah, stay out of the drama. I feel like there's so much drama in careers, and it gets in the way. It makes you ineffective.
Yeah.
And it just really, creates too many obstacles to actually be able to be effective.
Agreed.
So let's talk a little bit about how long you've been in your current career, and then what was your first career?
I was just recently having this conversation where my husband joined the military. We, unfortunately, in the city of Philadelphia, didn't have the best circumstances growing up and the best role models and really people, I think, watching out for us. And so we became pregnant at a very young age. And that kind of set the tone of like, am I even going to be able to have a career? What are people who's going to help me? I became a statistic. I didn't have any money. I didn't have anybody to help. I went on public assistance. I just didn't know. And my boyfriend, who's my husband now, at the time was like, I think I'm going to do this Navy thing. Like they walked into our high school and they were telling me they could solve all my problems. And I thought, okay, well, now he's going to leave me. So I think to know that he didn't, I didn't know that as a teenager, a pregnant teenager. I didn't know anything about the military, the Navy, none of that. It wasn't really in my personal life. And so I very quickly realized I can't depend on him because I thought he was going to leave anyway. And in my head, I was like, I got to get out of here.
Were your parents married or did they
were
get
married.
divorced? Okay.
Well,
Oh,
down the
my
line,
parents
things
got
changed.
divorced.
But,
Okay. I was just curious.
they stayed together. They always stayed married.
Okay.
But I don't think they practiced marriage.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. No,
and
it does.
it's very present as a child that it's very different how my husband and I are compared to what I can remember as a kid.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you
same.
kind of just know.
Sure.
But knowing that I felt, if I look back in retrospect, I'm like, he's leaving. And he's probably not going to come back. He's going to see this whole other world. Why would he come back for us?
Oh, wow.
But he kept telling me, I love you. I love my baby. I'm doing this for you guys. I'm coming back for you. And I just kind of was like in the teenage mindset of like, yeah, okay. So I graduated high school, had the baby, and proceeded into, I guess I'll go get a tech job or figure out how to be in that world. And so like a trade. I went to a medical assistant school. I stayed there 9 months. I got the certificate. I got help getting a job. And within that time frame, he was going to boot camp and he, was proceeding with that. And then right as I'm getting the job, it's like, I'm going to take you with me. And he came back for us. And it was very quick that I got married and was like, okay, well, I'm out. I don't know what's ahead for me. This is scary. I'm going to move away. I've never been really out of the city of Philadelphia. So I'm just going to figure it out. And this beautiful boyfriend of mine, who's now my husband, is going to help me with that. And I think it would be an understatement if I didn't say the Navy genuinely saved our life.
Oh my gosh.
And
wow.
took us in a different trajectory that we would really have never experienced. And my first role, to answer your question, was healthcare. And I stayed in that through 12 moves across different areas of the country over the first 14 years.
Wow.
And I would go to all these jobs and they would say, hey, how long are you staying here? I see that you used to live here. And I'd be like, oh, you know what, guys? I love it here. We're going to make this a home. We're going to be here so long. I'm so excited to grow with this team. Like, please give me a chance. I think they knew on the other end, she's lying. And we're talking about the early 2000s. It wasn't exactly the time where people changed positions often. So I was many times in a position where people were looking at me going, well, I've been here for 15, 20 years. Like, she's only going to be here for a year or two, so we shouldn't hire her. And I just kept powering through. So then when I got...
Tenacious.
Yeah. When I got to San Diego, it was like, well, I could go back into healthcare, or I think I'm going to wildly try to work for the Navy. Why not? They saved my life, so let me see if I can work at Fleet and Family and make a difference. And I applied for one job and I got it. And it was like, wait a second, I'm able to pivot here. So I've just kind of keep pushing through. But I knew I needed to get a tech job. I needed to get something. I couldn't go to college. I had a baby.
Yeah.
I didn't know if this man was coming back for me.
Right.
You know, so I knew I had to provide for her. But I knew also what it was like to be on public assistance and have zero to your name.
Yeah. That's so cool the way you explain it, because it's such a message of hope.
Yeah.
I mean, really a message of hope and perseverance and grit and never giving up and just saying, you know what, I'm going to make this happen. Because, well, first of all, you needed to, you had to, because you have a baby that's dependent on you. And then, you know, when he came back, really moving forward and taking that leap of faith of moving somewhere you'd never actually done. And how many moves was that again?
There was 12 moves in the first 14 years.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Wow.
And the first place I went is such a funny, very short version of the story, but I went from literally in the city of Philadelphia to a place called Norwich, Connecticut, which is about 10 miles outside of Groton, New London area. And it is the most remote culture shock kind of place you could ever imagine. We have no money. We have one car. He's trying to get to work. He leaves me. I'm like, first thing I think of as a 19-year-old mother with this baby is to put her in a stroller and take a walk, because that's what we do in the city.
Yeah.
Except it is literally winter in Connecticut. And you're like, you look back in retrospect and you're like, I was an absolute child with a baby, right? Because
but you figured it out.
Yeah. And you're just like, all right, we take a walk, and then you realize I got to go back. It's uphill. I don't even know if I can do this.
Right.
And just being alone in such a culture shock place, you then realize, you know what? It's perspective. This military life, I don't know what it is. I have no idea what's ahead for him. I have no idea what I need to support in this. I don't know anything about it. But apparently I'm going to be home a lot, and I'm going to be on my own.
So you got to figure out
and
something
I'm going to have
to
to
keep
figure
you
this
occupied.
out. And maybe taking walks in the winter in Connecticut is not the best idea.
Maybe not. Well, how did you figure out the whole balance of life and career and all that? Like, because, I mean, you know, the way it sounds, I mean, 12 moves in 14 years, that's a lot of moving. You couldn't even really get really established.
You can't.
Yeah.
I think
that had to be really
the
hard.
balance kind of comes from just being open and being a sponge and knowing, like, I got to work.
Yeah.
My income is going to make or break us. He has one, and we can go deep dive into military pay, but he has one. But I need to supplement that. And then you just add in general challenges. I mean, I think there was a solid 6 months where I would get a job. I'd work at a temp agency. They'd give me an assignment. I'd put my child in childcare with these home providers. She'd scream at the door for 8 hours a day. 3 days later, she'd quit. Like, they'd quit on me. And it's like, I have to find another one. And it's like, you just want to give up.
Yeah.
But I think it goes back to, if we gave up in the area I was in, and people didn't do at least what they had to do, that's being instilled in you, then you would fail.
Right.
And failing can't be an option if you're a parent.
No.
You just can't.
No.
So you're going to be like, well, I guess I'm going to go get another assignment. I'm going to find another childcare facility, and I'm going to make this work. And one day she's going to be in school, and I'm going to be super happy, you know, because I don't think she can scream at school for 8 hours a day, you know.
But you have two.
But I have two.
And when did your second come along?
Well, you know, I think it probably is a stereotype that young people will continue to have babies young, and that's so true. I literally had 2 babies by 21. And by 22 years old, my oldest was going into school.
Wow.
So it's a very different life when you look back, and the age I am now, I'm like, how did I do that? And I don't know if I necessarily have the answer, except one step at a time.
I have the answer just listening to you. You know what? You never gave up. No. And you said, you know what? You said it. Failure is not an option.
It's not.
You did what you needed to do and you figured it out. And you know what? I don't know what your background is with your family, but when I first had kids, I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. And I didn't have my mom lives kind of close, but she didn't have the time to come and hang out with me and show me how to do things. Like I had to legitimately figure it out. And my son, he had croup all the time. And I was like, he has these high fevers and he has croup. And oh my gosh, I mean, he had 104 fevers. You figure it out, right?
You do. But it gets scary.
Of course it gets scary.
And then you add in military life, which takes you thousands of miles away.
Gosh. No support system at all.
And then I always say this to younger people now. I'm like, we didn't have social media. Mm-mm. You don't stay connected.
You couldn't Google things.
No, you can't Google things. And you're not connected to the people that you were around because it's not a text message and a quick social post. It's no contact or a phone call.
Right.
Or you got to go visit, which can be money and all kinds of things that just can't happen. So you do feel genuinely alone. When I had my child, I was in my parents' house. It wasn't ideal.
Yeah.
So when the opportunity came where, he was like, hey, you can come with me now. I'm done boot camp. I was like, let's go. Here. You know, and I think I kind of never looked back. In a sense, I remember coming back for a short amount of time just because I was trying to figure out, I don't understand this culture shock thing. You mean people don't live like Philadelphia? I thought everybody lived like that, which is clearly not true.
Yeah. No.
And you're processing all that. You're trying to grow into your own person. You're trying to figure out what your career moves would be, but you don't really have the history of people showing you this is how you can achieve that. And
you have 2 kids.
Right. And then I have 2 children. And my daughter, like you were saying on your child, has a very serious medical condition. She has a bleeding disorder. And like, it's when you're faced with that and they're like, this is life or death, that you wake up really fast. And I think having a child young, you either don't or you do, but you mature very fast.
100%.
You just don't have an option.
No. My mom was 19 when she had my sister. So 19 is pretty young. Now people are having kids when they're older, like 30 and 40. And, it's actually changed so drastically. And again, back to you can Google when your kid's having a high fever and how do I get it down? And you can find out things that you just can't find out if you don't have that support system. And moving around, I think, the military has a very close-knit community, but if you're moving around that often, it's hard to get established in that as well, right?
I think to a point. My husband was a submariner.
Okay.
So there's only so many submarine bases we can go to.
Okay.
So then you start to see each other again and again, or you're just kind of passing like, hey, well, I'm here now. And they're like, well, I'm leaving in 3 months. And it's like, well, I saw you at the last duty station, so I guess I'll see you in passing at the next. And then once social media started to happen, I think for sure the military community was like, this is how we can stay connected.
Yeah.
You know? But it becomes very small. And I think similar to other communities, whether it's Marine Corps, Navy, and so forth, the submarine community is very small. Yeah. It's a small, group of people within a larger entity. And we all kind of know each other. And then, of course, as you start to get older, it feels like the world just gets smaller. So that's very true within that space as well.
Yeah. Let's take just a moment for a Smart Stop.
SmartStop knows the winning connection is when we elevate success together. SmartStop Self Storage, a California company with nearly 200 properties and over 15 million square feet of rentable storage in the US and Canada, is committed to positively impacting the communities we serve on the national and local level. By aligning our core principles of leading together, embracing change, and enhancing everyone's journey with local initiatives focused on education, health, and social welfare, we all elevate together. Through financial and strategic partnerships with nonprofits and prestigious organizations such as Cloudcast Media, Arrow McLaren IndyCar, Breast Cancer Research Foundation, Wounded Warrior Project, USC Athletics, the Brampton Steelheads, MMA fighters and boxers, and other unique athletes, we aim to foster a sense of unity and pride within the communities we serve, creating a shared identity and generating a positive atmosphere. To learn more about our core values, our locations, and career opportunities, please visit us at smartstopselfstorage.com. SmartStop, elevating success together.
So kind of back to, that small community and all of that. So did you have an issue of, you see these people over and over. Were you able to really establish deep relationships with them?
Yeah.
And the kids, what about the kids? Because I think it would be hard also on the kids.
I think it becomes very hard on the kids, especially as they come into their teenage years. And, for me, I was struggling with, I don't want them to be like me, so there's that pressure. But them moving around, you're very worried that they're not going to become these independent functioning humans, right? And that their connection to people is going to be kind of lackluster because they're always used to leaving people. But I think looking at my kids the age they are today, I look at them and they're the most adaptable individuals I've ever seen in my life. They have great friend groups and long-standing ones, and they have these pockets of people across the nation that sometimes the world, depending on where they've landed now. And you're like, wow, okay, this wasn't so bad for them. Yeah.
So let's talk for just a minute about leadership and men, and how does that work for you? Oh, you're laughing already. I love this.
You're like, let me get comfortable.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that and what you've experienced.
I think it's very relevant to what we were just talking about too, because for so long I was terrified to tell anybody I was a teen mom. To people that, male or female, if you want to judge somebody and think, well, how could they possibly make great decisions when they started not making great decisions? Like, we're not supposed to be punished for the rest of our lives. We actually did what we felt like was our decision to make, which was to have her and take care of her.
Right.
And though I had mentioned being on public assistance, it was not a long time. I think I was on it for like 3 or 4 months. And so when I had my second baby, I went back on WIC, but that was very short-lived as well. So I used it for what it was needed. I got to the next step.
Yeah.
But along the professional journey, anytime people would find that out, I felt like they were judging me. I'm not 100% sure they always were.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a bit of imposter syndrome on yourself.
And that also shame. Yeah. I think that's self-imposed many times.
Yeah. But the second somebody makes a comment on it that you're not necessarily loving, you're like, oh, they're judging me. Right. When maybe they're just like, I don't know how to look at that. That never happened around me, or I want to learn more. There's been straight out things that people should never say to people. You hope they would keep that in their head.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to being that, I mean, right now in the role that I'm in, I think there's some that probably look at like, how did she get in that? Well, that was a lot of work. I think they're missing a lot of the history. And you look at my age, you look at the system that I'm in the veteran service organization space, which typically the leader is a prior captain, admiral from the military community.
Right.
Which is fantastic. I love that they come back into the civilian sector and they want to give back through community. I love that. But it's not me.
Right. And that's not you. Exactly.
That's not me. Yeah. And so I don't always feel like I have a voice at the table, and I don't always feel like I have, a seat to be welcomed into. And then you start to make this name for yourself, and then they start to realize your history, and they start to see the work you've done, and then they start to see the results within your agency, and they're like, well, wait a minute, actually. And I'm grateful to the men who see it and are like, I can help with that, or I want to help with that, or I don't want to judge her, and are not interested in necessarily even learning all this stuff about me. They're just like, she seems like a great worker and we need to have her on our team. Like, that makes a difference. But the struggle is real.
Yeah.
It is real.
And as far as like the bias and resistance, do you feel that pretty often, or?
I think at least once a week. There's still something out there that you're like, why? Right. And then you got to take a step back, I think, and analyze, like, is it because of how you feel with this, or is it actually just maybe general business competition or just life, maybe you're reading way too much into it. And I think that's what keeps me from how I respond to it.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to be so reactive.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about, you walk into a room and someone wants to work for a nonprofit in the military space, a young woman, a group of young women, let's say that. You walk in, what would your life lessons be that you would want to share with them that you think would be very valuable?
I think that depending on what kind of roles they're looking to be in, and if one day it's, I would love to be in a leadership role, I would love to run my own nonprofit, which these conversations come up a lot. It's really just diving into like where they're at right now. Mm-hmm. Like, how can we amplify what you're doing right now? Because what you're doing right now is going to matter.
And it'll prepare you.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I think I always give advice of like, you need to be a sponge. That does not mean you need to say yes to everybody's events, that you need to volunteer at 105 things every year. That's not going to get you there. It's building your skill set and having quality things that you spend your time on that really are going to help put you in the position you want to be in. That's where you're working. Because if you're looking at doing this to make a paycheck and give back and kind of match all your skills into that, I think it's important to recognize that you're not there then to solely be the volunteer. You can learn so much in volunteer roles, but you got to have somebody in that agency who's helping you achieve the next step in your journey.
A strategic sponge.
Right. Be a strategic sponge.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. Well, because that way you're not spreading yourself, like you said, 105 things in 1 year. That's impossible. Right. And it'll burn you out. And you won't be able to actually make good decisions, do the kind of quality job that you want to do. So yeah, I think the strategic part is really important. So how do you see yourself moving forward? What do you think you're going to be doing? Are you going to stay put for a while? Are you kind of going,
you want me to say that on here?
Something else?
She is like, okay, just so if my board's not listening, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, you might want to also do, join some other boards and that sort of thing, because I think it is important to get experience. I don't think they probably think any job that you're going to stay forever.
No.
I mean, that's
that's
healthy.
Somewhat the answer, right? I tell my team, you and me will not be in these roles forever. Like, that's our job as leaders is to make sure it's better than what we got it, but also it's kind of turnkey when we leave.
And prepare it for the future, exactly. And then find that succession planning. I think that's important too.
If I had to leave tomorrow for some reason, my choice or not, could be medical, it could be anything. Did I do everything I can so that it can thrive? Because I want to, anything I'm a part of, in 10, 15 years from now, I want to be admiring it.
Yes.
I probably want to be helping to fund it.
Yes.
And so, I think the answer there is you get the itch, right? You're like, I always tell people, I'm like, I feel like I've been running a marathon since I gave birth to my daughter.
Yeah.
And I try to tell them and practice along the way, I got to stop for a second and kind of relish in it. So for right now, like, I'm content, but that doesn't mean that I don't have the itch to see where else I can go.
Right.
And in the wild thought of becoming a professor, I was like, I want to be teaching in the classroom. When I was with the Navy, I did a whole lot of teaching. I'm sure I am credentialed,
Wow.
And they're like, one of my friends was like, well, if you want to teach, like, why are you not doing it? And I was like, well, I don't know. Why are you so rude? Like, drink your margarita. What's wrong with you? Like, don't come at me that hard. And then like that night, I'm find myself online and I'm looking at the positions and like, you just make it work.
Yeah.
And so I got hired pretty fast and I was like, well, that was meant to be. So that tells me there's so much more I want to do. And I actually told my husband last night, I said, I want to do everything. And he's like, okay, well, let's reel that back.
Yeah.
Because everything is not the answer, but I certainly feel like I could see myself shifting the boards that I'm on. I can see myself going back to something like Planned Parenthood that I walked into as somebody in high school and was like, please help me. I didn't know that was a nonprofit. I didn't know what that was. I thought it was just a business or a medical clinic. I just remember they were helpful. And like, I can get behind mentoring and helping young girls like what I used to be, know that there's people like you and I that are out there that want to help you.
Right.
We want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
But we also want to teach you that there's people out there that want to see you fail.
Right.
They do.
Yeah.
And they'll set the path for you, and it'll be a very easy path to go down. The harder path is going to be worth it. And so I could see myself getting behind some different organizations that take me maybe a little away from the military community because I've given to that for so long.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's going to help you grow too.
Yeah.
I mean, as you try different things, you'll find something, I think, that really you're going to stick with. That'll be, I mean, you've already been in the military space for such a long time. Part of that, I think, had to do with circumstances to start with, right? So then you're shifting. I think your future is very bright, and you've got a lot of options. And what a wonderful thing that you're also showing this to your daughter and others. And so let's talk a little bit about advice, because we talked about lessons. What would be some advice that you would give some young women when they're thinking about their career?
I think I watched this reel recently, and I'm not going to quote her because honestly I don't remember her name, but it was very poignant to me because what she said resonated to the soul. And I think many women can really hear these words. And she says something to the variance of, like, you have to be okay with people not welcoming you. You got to be okay with people not champion you. Yeah. Like, you have to be okay with those things, but you have to remember you aren't doing it for them. Like, that you weren't.
Right.
And so I would tell any young girl, leader, remember what you're doing is because you're choosing to do it for you.
Right.
Doesn't mean you're selfish. That just means that remember why you're in that space. I want to make a difference. I want to pursue a career to be a doctor. Mm-hmm. We recently had an intern who's a pre-med student, very young girl. And she just was like, I'm going to solve all the philanthropy things one day when I'm an amazing doctor. And she's out in New York right now, and she was here for the summer. And I was like, let's slow it down a little bit. Because that race I was saying that I was running, I was trying to tell her too. I was like, you're like at the finish line. You haven't even started.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I believe you will do all of those things. But I think we would be remiss as more seasoned women to not remind them of what that woman was saying, which was like, somebody's going to want to take you down. They're going to want to see you fail. They're not going to accept you. And that's okay. That's their problem. Yeah. Because you're not here to do that for them.
Right.
So I think that resonates so deeply to women, and I will keep using that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming today and speaking to us and sharing your story. And you're so inspiring. You really are.
You're
so
very
inspiring.
kind. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now that was powerful. We hope you've been lifted and encouraged by today's inspiring voice. Always remember that life doesn't look exactly the same for each one of us. Never stop dreaming, striving, and thriving. In future episodes, we look forward to bringing you powerful stories from amazing women who learned how to lead in to challenges. Thank you for listening and being part of our community with SheEO host, Rebecca Jones.
The incredible curated SheEO conversation you just enjoyed was brought to you by SmartStop, a leader in self-storage real estate and a company that upholds its core principles of leading together, embracing change, and enhancing everyone's journey. To learn more about SmartStop, please visit smartstopselfstorage.com.
Cloudcast Media.